Let me bring in Mr. Onuma here, because he thinks otherwise. He's still at the start of this. You did say you still think that this falls within the Senate, that the act that the Senate finally drops on Magu's confirmation has to do with the Senate. Maybe you want to tell us more on that.
I mean, I'd also like to address, when we talk about integrity, these senators are Nigerians, and when people glorify the Senate or make it look like people can't question them, it really baffles me. I'm coming from a lawyer, and I'm a bit worried. When it suits us, we talk about the powers of the Senate, the powers to do this, the powers to do that. So if the Senate has the power to investigate these issues or to accept what the DSS had said, why didn't they have the power to also look into the issue and, as a honorable Senate, to get their own answers to some of these issues, that at least to satisfy the minimum standard that Nigerians expect from a Senate?
Go ahead. So you're asking a question.
Yeah, so I think I keep going back. For me, this is all about power and control. Some individuals, 75% of, if my research serves me right, are people in the Senate there, are people who have cases with the EFCC, or one corruption case or the other with ICPC and so on. So when we talk about integrity, we really have to watch that word. So for me, it's all about control. It's all about wanting to rein in whoever, and it's not about Magu. If somebody else occupies that position and shows some level of independence, that he wants to investigate high-profile cases of corruption, Nigerians who are politically exposed, who are corrupt, he would get the same treatment. Sincerely, it's not about Magu. It's about the Senate and the kind of people who populate the Senate, and what the kind of personal interest that is driving this process.
One other issue I raised, Mr. Onuma, is what you haven't addressed. You did say that's a big question, because one wonders if the DSS, that is also an agency of government, that's we're talking about the executive arm, would have that kind of report on one of the nominees of the president, without the president being hinted of that report before it gets to the Senate. Doesn't that tell you that perhaps maybe the presidency is having a rethink of dropping the name of Mr. Magu in the first place before the Senate?
I don't think so, Suleiman, but I don't know all the facts. Of course, you raised a very fundamental and critical question, which is what happened, and we would have to find out at the end of the day what went wrong. My expectation was that once the DSS had this kind of report, he would have presented it to the president. And
because as it is now,
that didn't.
Because as it is now, sorry to cut you, because I have so many things to ask. As it is now, we've not heard a word from the presidency concerning this. Is that an indication that the presidency is satisfied with what the DSS has brought out on Mr. Magu?
It's still too early to say. I mean, all of this happened late Thursday. Today is what's it called? Today is Sunday. So let's see what happens in the coming days. Of course, there is a lot of questions we can raise from the presidency point of view. My position is that the buck stops at the table of the president, and that this happened under his watch is quite troubling. Either way, because the presidency sent the name of Magu to the Senate, and for the Senate to for the DSS, which is also an agency of government, to do a report. But mind you, there were two reports according to the Senate. For those of us who were at the Senate chambers on Thursday, December 15, the information we got was that there were two reports. One asking the Senate to confirm the nomination or appointment of Magu as EFCC chairman, and the other, which is what many people have.
The one saying he should be confirmed. Mr. Onuma, the one saying that he should be confirmed Was that also from the DSS?
It was exactly from the DSS. It was dated October 3rd, but my understanding was that it was written a few days before the confirmation hearing.
So in other words, we have two conflicting, in other words, let's get this here. In other words, we have two conflicting reports from the DSS on the Magu's confirmation.
Exactly, there are, and I'm speaking from the fact that I worked at that agency many years ago. I'm also speaking from the fact that I'm a journalist and I follow some of these things. So when people just sit down and make armchair examination of what is going on, it's important. Wednesday last week, I was privy to a document, the order paper of the Senate, that called Magu to appear before it on last Thursday, December 8th. By the morning of this December 8th, that order paper had been changed and Magu's name removed. You know, shifted without any real explanation, other than the fact that they wanted more senators.
Let's also talk as journalists, Mr. Onuma, because we've been reading quite a number over the weekend, and one of that news reporter we did see, and I'm quite sure you also saw that, it was that Mr. Magu, since after that, he has been trying to see Mr. President, and he's not been able to reach the President. Is this also an indication that perhaps maybe Mr. President is thinking of putting forward another name for the chairman of the FCC?
There is no truth in that, Suleiman, and I can assure you of that. I think it's really terrible what is going on within the media, and I hate to do this because I've been in the media for over 25 years, having to call the activities of my colleagues to question is really painful for me. But our media are really doing a great disservice to all of us. It just looks like people sit down in their toilets and concoct stories or imagine stories and put them as headlines, and because also they think that we have a gullible reading public that just soaks in everything that is presented.
I think that's the point. That's the point.
So many
that's the point.
Forward. And of course, there are a lot of.
That's the point. That's a better point for us to start off after the break, because we have to look at some of those things that they have put out there. And since you have been you worked in the EFCC for some years, perhaps you should be able to tell us if some of these things that we see in the media, in the public's domain, if they're true or false. That's after now.